All right, I got my boy Tristan out here. Tristan, man, tell me what's up with this design. Tell me what you got going on here, tip to butt. Just explain the whole setup and why you did everything.
Yeah, pretty unorthodox, honestly. The whole thing is non-traditional completely.
Yeah.
So starting with the muzzle, I went with the Huxworks 762 Ti. Number one reason, weight. I can't stand a heavy rifle. And then outside of that, the ability to put this can on any gun, whether it be gas, bolt rifle, anywhere from a shorty 5.56 all the way to a 300 Win Mag bolt rifle, super appealing to me.
Yeah.
Reduced recoil reduction. Suppression at the ear is phenomenal. I think it's rating at like 137.5.
Yeah, we've been shooting this thing all day without ears on, and it hasn't bothered me at all.
Yeah, downrange, totally different story. It is a little loud downrange, but I just was worried about shooter's ear because I live in Montana, so the concept of me being in a closed, confined space with night vision or anything like that was outside of the question. So
yeah.
And from there, I've got a Arasaka, I think this is called the 6432, and then this is a Malkoff lamp, and then just a Surefire tail cap with the Unity 45-degree permanent / pressure switch.
Yeah, I like the setup of that. Thumb doesn't get in the way of anything.
Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, the one thing that's really cool about the Unities is the button's actually recessed, so you don't really have to worry about accidentally clicking that button. You kind of just have to do it on purpose, which is, I personally like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from there, moving back, basically went with the Geisley mount. It's just what I had at the time. If I had a preference, I'd probably go Badger Ordnance or Reptilia. Those seem to be the two best on the market at the moment, in my opinion. But I like the Geisleys. They're solid. I haven't had a loss of zero or anything. And then in that tube, I threw the 30mm Knife Force 1:8 NX8 first focal plane with the MOAR reticle. That scope is really awesome for just general plinking. You can basically range out to 550 yards with the reticle super easily. I'm not like advanced by any means of the word.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to just easily range targets and hit it with that reticle without even touching the dope, super, super nice. And then from there, I did the Reptilia low profile top mount. I'm a big fan of those because you can kind of see this Delta Point Pro where the dot actually aligns with the turret. You basically just go from looking through the scope, and if you bring up your eyes about half an inch from there, you get a perfect sight picture on that red dot as well. So super low pro, coming out of bags, whatever I'm doing, competition, shooting for fun with my buddies, shooting with kit on, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Works really, really well for that. I'm a big fan.
So while we're on the topic, man, a lot of people are probably going to give you shit for this, but why'd you go with LPVO on here?
Yeah, a lot of people are going to say there's really no good answer. Like, why would you put a pretty expensive LPVO on a Mark 18? The solid answer is that I live in Montana. So the reality of the world is that 5.56 is just not a good cartridge for living in an environment like this.
Yeah.
Your legs can only go out to, you know, even with something like a Mark 12 or even a little bit longer of a barrel, like a 20-inch barrel, you're looking at 850 yards. I mean, that's really stretching your legs with 5.56.
Yeah.
Heavier round. I mean, even then.
It's really windy out here, too.
Yeah, you get a lot of wind. So, I mean, really law of diminishing returns. You know, we're looking at 2,600 to 2,500 feet per second, depending on what round's coming out of the Mark 18. You know, and I know you get up into the 28s, 29s with those longer barrels, but, you know, the reality is, like, I know a lot of people build guns for the purpose of self-defense, and I'm one of them too, but, you know, I just through my practice out here and coming out shooting with my friends, I had a Comp M5 on here. A red dot is virtually worthless on any rifle out here.
Yeah.
You might as well be shooting with open iron sights.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, that's really the reality is I think if I was going to build something a little bit more purpose-built for my environment, it would definitely be something along the lines of a 6 ARC or a 6.5 Grindel or a 6.5 Creedmoor, 6mm Creedmoor. You know, the list goes on. There's a bunch of great rounds out there coming out today.
Yeah, for sure. Got a Geisley charging handle on here. What?
Yeah, only things I changed on the guns that were factory. So the upper's full Daniel spec. You got phosphated bolt, chrome line interior. Those bolts, I think, with the mid-length gas system. You know, we worked at the range. I think we've got one that has over probably 30,000 rounds on it.
Yeah.
And I think we clean it probably once every 6,000 to 7,000 rounds. And it
Keeps running.
it might not be cleaned yet.
No, we've been running the Huxworks 5.56 can on there, and it keeps the gun a lot cleaner than running any other suppressor.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna throw a Surefire on here, but just through my experimentation, one of the guys that's pretty big, high up at a suppressor company, kind of pulled me to the side, and he was like, "Hey, if you're really looking for like a one, you know, I'm 23, so I don't really have a ton of money to be going out and buying like all the cans on the market."
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like, "Hey, if you're gonna buy a suppressor, I really recommend that you go check out this Huxworks because it's super versatile across all platforms." And I would say that up till this point, that has been the truest thing I've heard in the gun industry in a long time.
Agreed. I've got one on my AK, and it just performs flawlessly. Rapid firing, I don't get any gas blowback to the face. Even shooting this gun fast, I didn't get any gas blowback. Did you?
No, and I mean, the Geisley charging handle has a raised lip back here that kind of goes over your upper receiver, like that kind of rear tail.
Yeah.
And you know, even if there was a high back pressure can on here, like you know, there's a bunch of them that are really good in terms of sound suppression, but you get that back pressure. This charging handle does an absolutely phenomenal job at mitigating that gas in your face. And then yeah, just other than that, Geisley trigger, it's just because I'm used to it. Like if I'm gonna upgrade a trigger from mil-spec, I'm gonna just stick with Geisley because it just feels like home. It's just like an improved mil-spec trigger.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love two-stage for both shooting fast and for precision.
Yeah.
Everyone has their preferences, but that's just what I went with.
Hell yeah.
And then buffer tube is primary weapon systems ratchet system buffer tube. This is actually the same buffer tube that comes on the Radian lowers from the factory. If you see their like ADAC rifles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The only difference is this one does have the ratchet buffer castle nut, which is a phenomenal upgrade. You don't even have to add it to their buffer tube, but if you just order that ratchet system, the ability to just take off and change out your stuff on the fly without having to worry about staking your castle nut, super, super nice. And I mean, I'm not in war or anything, like, so I'm not the best tester for it, but through my experience of 3,500 rounds on this gun, and then I had this same exact castle nut on another gun that had over 8,000 rounds on it, never had it come loose.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Radiant ADAC lower, you and I would agree this is probably one of the best lowers to build a platform off of.
Yeah, and really it's for one reason. So if you want to go ahead and like demonstrate how the bolt lock system on that works. So the magazine release is a two-way. It's both a magazine release and a bolt lock on an empty chamber.
Yeah.
Super, super nice for just like if you do happen to get a jam. I haven't had one yet, so I haven't used it. But on plenty of my other rifles, like I test the shit out of them, so I try and get them as dirty as you can.
Yeah.
If you get a double feed or something like that, having that bolt lock to the rear with the magazine release it's a luxury. And once you go to it, you're never going to switch. Same thing on both sides of the rifle too. And then for the people that are worried, if you do run a plate carrier, they bevel and recess the buttons and controls behind this metal lip, so you don't have to worry about if that thing's up against a plate carrier, whatever you're doing. I know a lot of guys worry about that with like accidental mag drop, all that crap.
Yeah, for sure.
With ambulowers.
Yeah. You have your new design for your company. The company's called 14 Quality Designs, and this is your...
Yeah, buttstock deployment kit.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically I saw a video of a school shooting in Nashville a couple years ago. And in the video, you can see the officer, he's running an LPVO just like this gun. And obviously with that LPVO, you got your eye relief that has to be the same every time. Otherwise, you're going to get a little bit of a different field of perspective when you're looking to that bad boy.
Yeah.
And he was taking about 45 seconds to get ready to get to go on that gun. And I just was like, man, it'd be really nice if you could just, you know, almost like an AK with a folder, but like have the adjustability of just ripping that thing out and going right to where you want.
Yeah.
So we use glass-filled nylon polymer plugs that are 3D printed, made in the USA, down in Idaho. They go in there, they're heat rated, water rated, you name it. Basically, if you shoot on the 4th position, you're going to plug the first 3 holes, and then you're going to put a limiter on the 5th. So the limiter is more like a stopping block. So even if you're a guy that wants to be a little bit more traditional and not use, you know, so the idea is that you don't have to use a button when you pull out the stock, so it goes right to where you want to go. Let's just say you're a guy who's like in a duty role, doesn't necessarily want to be, you know, messing with the quick stuff and all that crap. The cool thing is about the stopper is that it's going to limit your length of pull no matter what. So
Yeah.
if you put that on the 5th position and you know, hey, I shoot on the 4th position and I don't want to have to worry about like taking the time to like consciously find that position.
Yeah.
It's really nice to just grab that lever, come straight back to your, you know, your length of pull, and it's the same every time. You don't have to worry about consciously making a decision under moments of stress. So really it was designed for law enforcement, competition shooters. And I mean, honestly, I think there's even some rules for it in some CQB situations for the military.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drop the link for that in the description. Be on the lookout. We should be seeing those in the next month or two?
Yeah, we're going to be looking at like an October to November drop, basically just filing out some of the rough edges and getting some T&E on it.
Awesome. You got a price for us?
Yeah, right now we're going to be running MSRP at $29.99.
It's a pretty good deal, man.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I really wanted to accomplish was just something that really does improve your performance and really enhances your ability to get the gun into the fight a lot faster. I don't have any background in that scenario, like at all, but we worked at the range. We got to see a lot of guys come in who really had a lot more experience than us, and I've asked and consulted with a bunch of them, and they really liked the idea.
Yeah.
And it took a long time on the engineering side of the house to get that design finalized, but when we finally did, it's a really effective system. And I think really a slept on market for it would be precision rifle shooting, because like a Mark 12 or something like that same length of pull every single time.
Yeah.
You're going to shave seconds off your PRS times. You're going to shave seconds off your comp times at IDPA, name it, blah, blah, blah.
Awesome, man. You got a B5 stop mod stock on here and a Q G-sling?
Yeah, I had to do something to stay traditional to the original Mark 18. I didn't do the quad rail just because it's chonky, it cuts my hands. I'm kind of an old man when it comes to like choosing stuff. I want simple, I want it light.
Yeah.
But yeah, B5 is the way to go, man. I mean, I love the BCMs. They're like super tight. But I really like the B5 just for the cheek weld, super lightweight.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get battery storage, which is pretty sweet.
Absolutely. Just be convenient if you got nods.
Yeah.
So, you got any pros and cons for this rifle?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, so even though we're running the H3 Geisley Super 42 system, and you're running a Hux first can, which is supposed to reduce felt recoil and like reduce the gases that are, I think they said it's like a 2% increase in the system in terms of gassing. So even though that H3 is mitigating some of that felt recoil and the gassing, and getting that 3 and 4 o'clock ejection, one of the problems with the Mark 18 obviously is that it is an overgas system. So bolt components shelf life is probably pretty low. I would say it's anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 rounds.
Yeah.
But if you're a responsible gun owner, you should be checking your tools and stuff. So I think I've got 2,500 rounds to 3,000 rounds on the platform, and I haven't noticed anything. I mean, the Daniel bolts seem to be in spec pretty well. And yeah, one of the pros I see to this rifle is that the Mark 18 is just a really well-balanced system. I mean, even when you go to that 11.5-inch length, I've got a buddy that's got one, and when you put it next to this gun, you're starting to get into that musket look. Like it's a real long system, and you don't really realize it until you got them next to each other.
Yeah.
And we were crawling through a barbed wire fence to get onto the state land, but even doing that, or just getting out of the car, or whatever it is you're doing, the really compact package is just so convenient. And I'm like a coyote hunter and stuff, so like if I see a coyote at night and I want to get out and pop him real quick, it's really hard to do that with a 16-inch rifle or a 14.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love 14.5s. I think they still have their role. It's just like, for me, I was like, I'm done spending money on 5.56 in an environment like this.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to run something, I might as well just have the whole system,
Right. I think you would agree with me on this statement. When you're building a rifle, I think the first thing you need to take into consideration is evaluate your environment, because you could be in a completely open setting like this or a more urban environment like where I'm from. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we both grew up in Atlanta. Obviously, it's a different story, and this rifle even has a phenomenal role in Atlanta. I mean, like, again, I'm not any sort of self-defense expert, but like if you just look at, different scenarios and stuff, target ID is like huge. You don't want to be shooting a woman, child, innocent man, none of that. So being able to see and have glass is really key. And honestly, even if you're not shooting and you just need to see what's beyond you, and not having to take out binos or rangefinder or whatever you're doing, it's really nice. And then on top of that, I think that just realizing that the cartridge that you go with is going to be key for like whatever environment you're in. I mean, we look all around us at these high elevation points. The average shot, in a point of dominance to, where we are, we're in the low part of the valley, which is where you don't want to be in any bad scenario. You're looking at an average shot of 800 to 900 yards. Yeah. And you can read, watch movies, whatever you want to do. Look at the guys in Afghanistan. There was a reason they got rid of 5.56 like halfway through and started moving towards those bigger cartridges like 308, 6.5 Creedmoor. which honestly out here, if I was going to take one, it's going to be one of those 2 rounds because,
Absolutely.
man, I mean, stopping power of 5.56 out here, I'm not shooting with a 5.56 past 300 yards in,
Right,
in a bad situation. You know, if anything, I'm trying to get out of there as fast as I can. So more so, this gun is just fun, man. And
it is.
We've hit it 650 with it 7 out of 10 times with a 3 mile an hour left to right crosswind. I mean, man, it was one shot. My buddy made an adjustment, was like, hey, hold left 1/2 MOA. Impact. And, you know, so, like, it really is feasible with a 10.3. I don't think a lot of people realize that it's, you know, law of diminishing returns. Yes, you're not going to get the optimal performance, but with the right bullet selection, a good barrel, a good bolt, head spacing done correctly, you can accurize a 10.3, and it is impressive these days.
Absolutely. Well, man, I love what you built here. Like I said, I shot this from the day you built it, and it's always impressed me. And I think you did a great job with it, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the channel.
No problem, man. Anytime.
We'll get them back out here sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Got a lot more content on the way, and we'll see you guys next time.